I lost count. You know how rare that is? I lost count of how many times I've tried to record this video. Like 14 times, 15? I don't even know, bro. I don't even know. Like, I'm so tired, dude. I tried to script a video and then I said, screw it, let me just wing it. And then that didn't work out, so then I tried to script the video. And then I recorded that and I was like, dang, this video is boring. And then I tried to like, I don't even know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Inshallah. Yeah, Rob. Inshallah, this is the last take. Hopefully this is the last take. And this is going to go to YouTube. So, what's in a punch? Okay, let's say you press this button, right? This button, what's going to happen is this controller is going to send a signal to your game console or your computer, whatever, pretty much saying, hey, we just pressed this button. And then the game's going to be like, oh, for real? Okay, bet. Let me make the character actually attack, because this is the attack. And we all know that that's what happens. Like, duh. But the question is, how does that work? What's going on under the hood to make your character attack? Because there's so many different attacks in the game and so many different characters in the game. You know, what's going on underneath there? Aren't you curious? So anyway, for us to understand how fighting games work, we need to first understand how video games work. Video games are really just computer programs at the end of the day that run on a constant cycle known as a game loop. And and the game loop handles everything. That's where all the code is ran, player inputs are received, sound effects, video effects, animations, all of that happens inside the game loop. And the game loop fits inside of a frame. And there are 60 frames per second, right? I'm sure you all know what a frame is. I don't have to explain that to you, right? I hope not. Sorry, I don't know. That sounded like condescending. My fault. Cut that out the video. Within each frame, we do things in a certain order every single time. So first thing we want to do is grab the inputs from player one. So the game's going to ask, hey, did player one press this button? Yes or no? This button? Yes or no? This button? Yes or no? These yes or no answers are converted into numbers. They're converted into ones and zeros. And these ones and zeros are put inside of a big, long number. In the case of my game, Nizaal, this number is a 10-digit number because there's 6 buttons and 4 directions. Once we have our raw input stored as a number, we have to clean the input. We have to SOCD clean the input. SOCDs, or simultaneous opposite cardinal directions, is something that's not possible on an arcade stick. You cannot move the arcade stick to the left and to the right at the same time. But on a gamepad, you can, because we can move the D-pad to the left and then the joystick to the right. And therefore we have opposite cardinal directions happening simultaneously. This gives the gamepad user a mechanical advantage over the arcade stick user. And my game is a fighting game that allows you to play on both gamepad and stick, and also on leverless, and also on touchscreen. And so I need to give the player the empowerment to choose what he wants to play on without having a disadvantage because the other guy has something better. I have to SOCD clean the input, right? And that's pretty much done just by checking to see if left and right are both pressed. And if they are, then you cancel them out. Same thing for up and down. If up and down are pressed at the same time, then you cancel them out. And that's literally it. So once we cleaned our input, we're now able to use it. However, our input is not a very useful input because the only information that it stores is whether or not the button was pressed. But what if we want to know if it was just pressed, or if it's been pressed, or if it's just released, or if it's been released? We have to compare the current input to the last input. If it was not pressed and now it is, then we just pressed it. If it was pressed and it still is, we're holding it. And if it was pressed and was not pressed anymore, then we just released it. And with this, we're able to do negative edge inputs, charge inputs, positive edge inputs, right? We're able to do all of this. And now with that, we should be able to ask the important question of, did we press the attack button? Yes or no? If we did press the attack button, then attack. Not yet. We cannot ask this question willy-nilly whenever we feel like it, because in a fighting game, you cannot attack willy-nilly whenever you feel like it, right? So we need to make sure that our player is in the correct state. What is a state? Well, see, the player can be in many different conditions, such as standing or crouching or jump squat, dashing, landing, airborne. All of these are states, and the player can only be in one state at a time. The state machine is pretty much the guy who makes sure that we are in one state at a time, makes sure that the code for that state is ran, and handles all the transitions from one state to another. The problem, however, is because we can only be in one state at a time, then what happens whenever we want to attack? We're able to attack on the ground and in the air, which means that we would need two different attack states, the attack air state and the attack ground state. But that's pretty stupid. We don't want to have two different attack states, because if we have two different attack states, then we'll also need two different grab states and two different hit stun states and two different block states. Do you see the problem? Instead, what we should do is create two state machines. You have the body state machine that handles the dashing and the crouching and the standing and then you have the action state machine that handles the attacking and the grabbing and the blocking and the hit stun and the taunting and being idle. And so now the player can be in two different states. He can be in one body state and one action state. So now you attacking and doing a ground attack versus an air attack is as simple as, I'm in the same exact attack state, but I might either be grounded or airborne. So pretty much what needs to happen is, after we receive the inputs for player one, the first thing that we do is we run the code for the body state. Let's skip that because it's not that important for this video. And then we run the code for the action state, which in this case is the idle state. This is where we check to see if we pressed the attack button or not. The idle state is going to ask, did we press the attack button? The answer is yes. So then the idle state is going to say, okay, bet. We need to enter the attack state. So therefore, let's transition from this state to the attack state. So it's going to ask the state machine to do that. The state machine is going to say, okay, bet, I got you. We're going to go there. And then as soon as we're inside of the attack state is going to try to figure out which attack we're trying to output. See, because we know that we pressed one of the attack buttons, but we don't know which attack button we pressed. My game has 3 attack buttons. So we need to know which attack button did we press, and we need to know which direction was the joystick tilted. And the answers to these questions is going to determine which attack we're going to output. So once the attack state finishes those shenanigans figuring that out, then we realize that we are trying to output a forward strike attack. The question is, how do we output the forward strike? See, the attack state is pretty much a chef who doesn't know what the recipe is. So the way my game works, the recipe for each attack is stored inside of a file called CombatData. Each character in the game has their own combat data. And so in this case, because we're playing as the character Zaid, the attack state is going to go into the combat data file for Zaid and then look for the recipe for the forward strike. Eventually, the attack state finds the recipe, and if we look at the recipe, we see that there are ingredients such as the active frames, the recovery frames, the cancel frame, which animation we're supposed to play, and then there are step-by-step instructions on how to cook the attack. This is what raw frame data looks like. So the way that the attack state follows the instructions is, we know that we are on attack frame number 1 because we just started the attack on this frame. We just entered the attack state on this frame. Therefore, this is frame 1. Okay. The attack state is going to look at the recipe and check to see if there's any frame data for frame 1 specifically. Oh, look, there is. We need to play this sound effect, and we need to change Zaid's face to make him look angry looking. I'm not going to go over how faces work in this video. I'm going to go over that in a future video, inshallah. Anywho, once the attack state finishes executing all of the commands within, our current frame, then that's it. It's pretty much done. So now we're finished with the attack state, which means that we're finished with the parallel state machine stuff, which means that now we move on to the audio visual manager. The audio visual manager, or the AVManager, is pretty much the guy who is responsible for the player animations, visual effects, sound effects, that kind of stuff, right? Every single player has his own AVManager. The reason why there's an AVManager is because I have all of the sound effects and visual effects and animations kind of like separate from the rest of the game's code. The AVManager is going to interpret the player's state to decide if a certain visual effect should play, or sound effect, or an animation. In this case, the AVManager sees that we're currently in the attack state, currently outputting a forward strike, and so therefore we should play the attack SF animation as specified inside of the recipe for the forward strike in our combat data. Once that's finished, then we move on to player 2, because all of the code for player 1's finished. Okay, we move on to player 2. We do all of his crap. Okay, whatever, skip that because it's most of the same, right? And then once we finish the players, then we have to run the code for the cameraman. Skip that also. Then we have to check to see if there's any active hitboxes on the screen. If there are any active hitboxes, then we need to run the code for each of them. However, in the case of this particular frame, there are no active hitboxes, and so therefore we are not going to run any code for any hitboxes. So we skip this step, and now we're done. Now we are done with all of the code, all of the game loop stuff for this frame. So everything that I just did in the last 20 minutes, apparently, all of this took place in 0.0167 seconds. 16.7 milliseconds. That's how long it took for the game to do everything that we just explained so far. And this is something that happens 60 times per second. Very, very fast. Okay, so we need to move on to frame 2 because the rest of the attack hasn't even finished yet. The rest of the frames are not going to take as long to explain as the first one did. Basically, with frame 2, most of the work is the exact same, with the exception of whenever we circle back to the attack state for player 1, we see that we are currently on attack frame number 2. So we need to check the recipe to see if there's any frame data to execute for frame 2. We see that there is none, and there's not going to be any until frame 9, which means that for attack frames number 2 through 8, we pretty much just do nothing. Everything else in the frame is going to be the exact same for the next few frames until finally we get to frame 9. And then this is where the attack state sees that there actually is frame data that needs to be executed. In this case, the frame data is a hitbox that we need to spawn. So the attack state is going to create the hitbox, and that's it. And the rest of the frame continues as normal until, again, we get to the very end. When we get to the end of this frame, we are supposed to, like always, check to see if there's any active hitboxes. This time, however, unlike the last 8 times, there is an active hitbox. It is the one that we just spawned. So now we need to run the code for that hitbox. But wait, before we do that, one thing that I want to mention is what would happen if there were multiple hitboxes on the screen at the same time. We would need to, in that case, sort the hitboxes based on their priority and based on their type. So whenever I say priority, I mean like their strength level from super to special to strike to jab. And then whenever I say type, I mean that the attack type or the damage box has priority over the grab box. If you do not sort the hitboxes and if you allow the grab box to make contact before the damage box, then this will happen.
The heck? I think that was a glitch.
We don't want that. So once we finish sorting the hitboxes, then now we run through their code one by one. In this case, there's only one active hitbox, so we just go ahead. Once we're inside of the hitbox's code, we see that the hitbox is trying to check to see if it is overlapping with any hurt box. The hurt box being the yellow blob that surrounds your character. If the hitbox does detect that it's overlapping with a hurt box, then it does 2 things. Number 1, it's going to notify the owner of the hurt box that he just got hit, right? The owner is our opponent, right? It will notify the opponent that he just got hit by our attack. The second thing that the hitbox does is it will add the owner to a blacklist. And this is to protect the owner from getting hit twice or thrice or, more, right? Because in my game, every single character has 10 hurt boxes, right? And so it's possible for the hitbox to overlap with more than one hurt box at the same time. And so that obviously wouldn't be good for my one punch to overlap with like 4 of your hurt boxes, and then you therefore get hit 4 times for the price of 1. So yes, I'm going to add all of your hurt boxes to my blacklist if I realize that I'm overlapping. So anyway, going back to our opponent, right? He just got notified that he just got hit. So now our opponent is going to run a certain amount of code, a certain function that only runs whenever he gets hit. And this code is responsible for doing everything that we're familiar with. So we're talking about dealing damage, chip damage, hit stun, hit stop, knockback. All of that is applied. The juggle count increases, the hit count increases, our combo count increases. We check to see also if the hit got parried or not, blocked or not. Is it a counter hit or not? All of this stuff takes place right here. And whenever we finish doing all of that, the AVManager for our opponent is going to run through its code again. Why? Because now the opponent is in a different state. He's in the hit stun state. Therefore, we have visual effects that we need to play. We have sound effects that we need to play. We have animations that we need to play to represent this change, to represent that he just got hit. And when we finish doing that, then finally we're done with this frame. And so now we're able to move on to the next frame. And so you might be thinking, okay, now we're on attack frame number 10. But no, whenever we circle back on the next frame, whenever we circle back to the attack state, we are not able to advance to the next attack frame. We are not able to advance from attack frame 9 to attack frame 10. Why? Because we're in hit stop. Because when we hit our opponent, both our opponent and us were put in hit stop for 12 frames, according to the recipe for the hitbox, which means that we now have to sit here and wait and do nothing, do the exact same crap that we've been doing, same old, nothing new, for 12 frames, which is like, what, 0.2 seconds? So now we fast forward and we're now out of hit stop. We are now able to move on to attack frame number 10 and check to see if there's any frame data for attack frame 10. But as you can see, there is none. And also there's no frame data for any frame after frame 9, which means we're pretty much done. But we have to wait until the cancel frame. If you look at the ingredients, you see that the attack will cancel on frame 25. So when we fast forward time, the attack state will check to see if the current frame is the cancel frame. It is the cancel frame. So therefore the attack state is going to request the state machine to transition us back to the idle state. And upon returning to the idle state, the idle state is immediately on that same frame going to check to see if we're pressing buttons, block button, grab button, taunt, attack button. And once we're at that point, then we've officially finished the attack. And that is what's in a punch. A little bit of bonus info before I go, hopefully for the last time, because I've been recording this for too long and I've recorded this like probably 1,000 times by now. Right? I want to quickly explain how special moves work. So let's say, for example, Zaid's forward special. His forward special is his shockwave attack. If he just simply taps the special attack button, then he will do a fake version of his special. And if he holds the special button, then the special will actually shoot. And so the way that I do this is by using functions. There is a function that checks to see if you're holding down the special attack button long enough. And what I do is I put this function inside of the frame data itself. So whenever the attack state gets to that frame, it knows to execute that function. And so if we did press and hold the special button long enough, then we will swap out of our current attack, the attack SPF, and into our attack SPF 1. Attack SPF is the fake version. Attack SPF 1 is the real version. So pretty much this function acts as like a fork in the road. If we didn't press the attack button long enough, then we just continue on this path and do the fake out. If we did press it long enough, then we go into a different attack, a different branch where the actual projectile comes out. So it's a little bit of a weird method. It might not be the best method, but it works for this game, and that's all that really matters. I don't really care if the crap is weird or looks weird or sounds weird, because from the player's perspective, he has no idea that his forward special is under the hood divided into 2 different attacks. He doesn't know, and he doesn't need to know. So anyway, that's how Zaid's special move works. Every special though is different because they all have their little quirks and different hacks and ways to get them to work and do what I want them to do. And if it works, it works. So, hey. But that's pretty much all I have for this video. I'm glad that I was able to actually record it all, even though it's been 40 minutes. Dear God. And yeah, thanks for watching. I have to edit this. I have to edit this. Oh my God.